Well, the second half has officially begun. That means we got ahead of us a trade deadline, a playoff race, and of course, most importantly, your fantasy baseball standings. Whether your league has playoffs or you're just fighting in that roto league to get the most points, the most whatever. Look, this is where it all happens. Hopefully, you're at least in position to make a move. I'm going to help you with some bold predictions that, well, if you're on the right side of them, could pay off huge. I guess you could consider this a buy low in disguise, but these aren't all positive predictions. But let's start with a good one. By the way, we're going to start and end with a rookie. I've been hyping up Nick Kurtz as my boy, and yeah, he still is. And tell you what, it's still not too late to buy low on him because my prediction, he finishes as a top 3 first baseman the rest of the way, better than Freddie Freeman and Bryce Harper. And maybe that's not even bold because that's what he's been. Look, since June 10th, when he came off of the IL, I'm giving him a day, right, the first day off. 268, 12 homers, 29 RBIs, and 22 runs scored. Since that same time, Freddie Freeman's hitting 193 with 1 homer and 8 RBIs. And we know Bryce Harper was sidelined for a while. Well, he came back on June 30th, and since that time, hitting 275 with 1 solo home run, just 1 RBI. I do think Freeman will get better. I do think Harper will be fine. But I think I would take Nick Kurtz over both of them at this point in fantasy. I mean, sure, the lineup context, the teams that they're on, you think that makes a difference, but at the same time, look, Nick Kurtz has nothing to play for except for proving himself as an everyday player here. Harper and Freeman, these guys are veterans now. They're going to have to take it easy heading into the playoffs. They're going to save their best for the postseason because they already know they're going there. But I felt like Kurtz could be a star in the making, and I feel like that star is going to be made this season. All right, let's take that one step further. I mentioned this a couple of times before the All-Star break. Guy who has not broken out yet is Jack Caglione. I think it happens. I've already talked about how he's a huge underachiever in terms of all the expected statistics. So let's just go all the way here. I think that Cags breaks out with 20 homers in the second half alone. There are not a lot of players who reach that mark, but again, this is why it's a bold prediction. Look, if a guy like Anthony Santander last year can hit 20 jacks in the second half, I think Caglione can do it too. Just to reinforce how much he is due for a break, his slugging is an anemic 264, but his expected slugging is 462. His batting average is over 100 points lower than his expected batting average. And we started to see it right before the break, right? That week before, we saw a couple of home runs in back-to-back games. Maybe it's just a sign. And he's showing what you want from a young slugger. His strikeout rate's only 21%. Again, his batting average should be much better. The Royals, I think, as an offense, will get it going. So I'm pinning my hopes on Cags, and I am still picking him up if he's out there and even buying low where I can. Now, one of the players who also did hit over 20 homers last year just in the second half and went over 30 in the first half this year is Eugenio Suarez. I mentioned him on my trade video, guy who I think very well could be dealt. And as I said there, I actually think it's possible he is better in the second half. So here we go with my bold prediction. Gino Suarez gets better. And the reason is simple. A better team, a better ballpark. Chase Field, not really very friendly for right-handed power bats, and yet somehow he's up there among the league leaders in home runs because he's a really good power hitter. And so imagine him filling the obvious glaring hole for the Yankees at third base, for the Dodgers at third base. Both of them would be ideal. So don't sell high here. Don't sell at all. And I know buy high isn't really a thing you like to do, but if you need that boost for your third base position, you need a guy who's a star. I think Gino Suarez is going to pay off. Now, how about an entire team possibly being buy low candidates? Is it possible that the Padres actually snap out of it and become good? Why wouldn't they? So look, Padres somehow have dropped among the bottom of the rankings in terms of total offense for a team, which is ridiculous given the amount of talent they have. So let's flip the script. I think they get their act together. They make some moves here at the deadline. I think that in the second half, the Padres are a top 5 offense. It's really absurd. They're not actually the leader in terms of underachiever here. They're, as a team, 11 points below their expected batting average. But, it's just so many individuals that it's just one of these guys, maybe at least 2, can turn it around, and they really should. Manny Machado's doing his part, right? His numbers are all great. Fernando Tatis started out on fire. I don't know what has happened, but he, again, should be much better. Got a 295 expected batting average, and yet here he sits in the 260s. The power had dried up. Jackson Merrill, I just cannot stop mentioning the fact that this guy looks nothing like he did in the second half of last year. But again, he started hot and he just has gone ice cold for reasons I still don't understand. I think he's got a little power still in there. I know he can hit for average. And then speaking of, how is Luis Arias, a guy who's hit for the batting title and should be hitting over 300 at the minimum, how is he hitting 279? It only makes sense that they would trade for somebody to patch up that corner outfield spot in left field. They've tried so many guys. How about just get Taylor Ward, a Brent Rooker, someone with some thump, and that could be a huge help to this offense as a whole. All right, but as I told you, not all good here. Sometimes teams go the other way in the second half. I think the Royals' offense gets better, but I think their pitching goes south. I think that the rest of the way, the Royals' pitching staff, their starting rotation at the very least, is bottom five. Believe it or not, this might be the most bold of my predictions because right now, as it stands, the Royals have the second best ERA in the majors. But a lot of red flags are waiting. First of all, they've been without their ace, Cole Reagans. He's on the 60-day IL. Who knows when he's coming back and what he's going to be like? Because remember, his ERA is already up there because he just does not look right physically. So a big question mark still there. Seth Lugo, one of the biggest by far overachievers in terms of expected stats. I feel like his numbers, his ratios are going to go up. We've seen this before with him, kind of fading down the stretch. Guy who's been their ace is Chris Bubich, but now we got to worry about his innings restrictions if there is one, or just possibly being less effective because he's not used to going this deep into the season either. Noah Cameron started great. He has been on the decline. Guy who it really shouldn't be due to innings, maybe just hitters figuring him out, but he has not looked the same since he first got called up. And then that bullpen, which has been excellent, it might thin out if they do, as has been rumored, trade their closer, Carlos Estevez. Maybe trade some other pieces there if they fall out of contention. Overall, here, just a little worried about the Royal staff. You know who else I think doesn't keep up the pace of the first half? Alex Bregman, who did just come off of the IL right before the break. And yeah, he's back. He's an auto start, but I don't think you should assume you're getting what you got before his injury. So he's had a quad strain, which is actually the same injury he had back in 2021 that kept him out for a couple of months. And he actually bounced back totally fine that season. But that was a few years ago. He's 31 now, and this is a different team, different situation. Look, the Red Sox, give them credit. The youth movement is working. They're actually a contender now, I think. And so it's not about that. It's just about the fact that it's still not the same having guys like Rafael Devers, who isn't there, Jaron Duran, very much on the block. I mean, he might be gone. It's not the same. And Alex Bregman, for his part, also a huge overachiever. His batting average, 43 points over expectation. And his slugging percentage is 68 points over expectation. I still think he'll be fine, but I'm just going to say Bregman, I don't think is one of your top fantasy third basemen, maybe not even top 10 going forward. Now, we don't really know what's going to happen in the trade deadline, as mentioned with Boston. All of a sudden, they look like they might be buyers as opposed to sellers. If so, here's something that might catch you off guard. What if they actually trade for a closer? It's been heavily rumored that they might actually try to get Emmanuel Clase from Cleveland. And then Cleveland, despite not being out of contention, might ship Clase off somewhere just to see what they can get for him right now. If that happens, I think it's just almost automatic. Cade Smith is one of your top closers. I think he might even lead the AL in saves in the second half. No surprise, Cade Smith was basically the best relief pitcher in all of baseball last year. Definitely the best non-closer last year. Had a 1.91 ERA, a 0.90 WHIP, and a 35% K rate. Raised some eyebrows when MLB right now said he was the best reliever in the game, but he is. Hey, look at this season's stats. Don't let the ratios fool you. It looks like he's not doing nearly as well, but this was hugely inflated by one bad outing where just that day before he had been suffering from back spasms. And so that one appearance basically made it look like his season has gone much worse than it has. And it hasn't. He's been totally fine at 34% strikeout rate. He is still dominant. Cleveland will still win its share of close games. This is why Clase has been the saves leader for a couple of years. And so if he's outdoor, Cade Smith is a must own and one of your saves leaders. I'm going to go back to a call I made a couple of weeks ago, article that appeared in Fantasy Pros talking about buy low candidates. I threw out Jordan Westberg. Horrible timing because, he had just come off of the IL and I said, don't worry about the injuries. And then right after that, he missed a couple of games with a little finger thing, but he didn't go back on the shelf. He's fine now and let's just roll with it. I think Jordan Westberg is a top 5 second baseman the rest of the season. Despite the fact he doesn't get you steals, it doesn't matter. There are not that many second basemen who are getting a lot of steals and also can get you power. So you might have to pick and choose here. But look, with so many busts at second base this season alone, I mean, talk about guys like Ozzy Albies, Marcus Simeon, Jose Altuve is not the same. He doesn't steal bases anymore. And like even Mookie Betts, who I know is a shortstop, but he qualifies at second base in fantasy. You might want to stick him there, or you just might not want to stick with him at all. Give me Jordan Westberg. The power is there. This guy is so undervalued. I said I'm going to end with a rookie, so here we go. The National League leader in strikeouts the rest of the way is going to be Chase Burns. You thought I was going to go with The Miz, didn't you? Now, what about Jacob Mizorowski? All-star Jacob Mizorowski. Look, I love The Miz as much as anybody else, but let's be real. First of all, he has never in his professional career thrown over 100 innings in a season. He's already up to 89. Milwaukee is a contender. They're going to definitely slow play him in terms of his innings the rest of the way. So I think that pretty much cuts him out. The Reds, look, I think as of right now, they still have a winning record somehow. I'm not going to pretend that I think that they're all of a sudden in the playoff race. They're going to worry about limiting Burns because he's not the same. He has not all these arm troubles like Mizorowski. Burns will be out there. You might look at his uneven, game record here. The fact that he got absolutely lit up in his second start. But really, that was one bad start. The other three have been pretty good. He bounced back well, only gave up one earned run and two earned runs over the next two starts with 7 and 10 strikeouts, respectively. As it stands right now, yeah, I know, small sample, all that, but he's got a 33.8% strikeout rate. That's against some formidable opponents. Okay, so if you rank that against all qualified starters, everyone in the majors, it would be number one. Yeah, higher than Wheeler, higher than Skeens, Skubal, all of them. Of course, there's no guarantee he keeps it up, but if this were a given, it wouldn't be a bold prediction. All right, there you go. Act accordingly. I already talked about that trade video. A lot of candidates on the block, but the ones that actually matter the most for fantasy, the ones that you should be interested in, I broke it all down. Who I think is going to go on the move, why it matters, and why you should get them. Check it out.